Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Cinema Therapy, the podcast for people who know nothing about life but know all about TV. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Karen.
Oh, gosh. How was your week, Karen?
It was great. Actually, you know what? I want to say thank you to our listeners from our first podcast.
Oh, my God.
Because we got a lot of great feedback.
Wasn't it so lovely?
Yeah.
I've never felt, so gratified. Because, the thing is, of course, we're not people who are experienced in doing this. This isn't something new for us. There's going to be issues. This is not going to be NPR. We're doing the best that we can, and we're learning. It's a learning curve for sure, but people have been so positive in their responses to us. I feel like they've really related to what we've had to say about the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. We actually have a lot of listeners who have commented on things that we mentioned and shared and talked about last week.
Yeah. So what was one example from our good friend Christina? She was a chorus member with us. A long-lasting friendship. We have a quote from her. She commented on our first episode. She said, I feel like when we make an immediate decision that if a relationship/friendship isn't going to give us something that we may want and put these imaginary boundaries on a person as if being in a relationship suddenly makes a person, in quotation, yours, we are already looking for the wrong things. We are looking to be saved by someone because we don't want to save ourselves. We are not fighting for ourselves for love. I love that this sentiment was brought upon by our discussion, that this made you feel impelled to comments, and it made you evoke some sort of emotion. So I appreciate that very much. Another friend of ours, Sasha, she says, I do agree that society puts more validity into your decisions when they stem from your relationship. It's nice to...
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you, Sasha. Good friend of ours. Another good friend of ours, Nicole... Nicole Torres. It's a shame that we as society don't have a similar mindset towards young single adults as we do couples. In some ways, that's a harder path to trek, and it's admirable. Perhaps should be even more celebrated as it is similar to marriage. Just another form of growth, albeit way more independent. I would agree with that.
Thank you so much, Nicole. We really appreciate your input.
We appreciate all our friends for listening, for commenting. It is not lost on us that that's time out of your day. And maybe things are not perfect yet. We are working on it, but the fact that we're not just shouting into the void, that people are listening and responding, it makes us feel good. So we really appreciate it. So let's talk about what are we going to talk about today? It's going to be what is this discussion about? All right, I'm a spoil the suspense. Let's play the clip. Let's talk about it.
Who gives the toast at her own wedding? I do. I love this man. And yes, there is shrimp in the egg rolls.
Rabbi, she's kidding.
We could be downtown people, close to the clubs. I thought you wanted to be a cool chick.
I could be a cool chick with a doorman and a Kelvinator Foodorama refrigerator, can't I?
Yes, you can.
Joe left you? Why? What did you do?
Did you ever think you were supposed to be something, and you suddenly realize you're not?
Yes. Married. I was a great wife. I was fun. I can't believe I'm losing him to Penny Pan. That's her name. Penny Pan. I'm sorry, but look at me. Who wouldn't want to come home to this every night? Hey, Pop Newhart's got a set of these at home. Rickled Mavis. Hey!
15 years I've been working in clubs, okay? Twice have I seen someone deliver the goods. What are you talking about? How about your act?
I am a mother.
I don't have an act.
You will when we're done.
Hi, everybody.
Heard some uptown chick got arrested doing a set.
What's the crime?
Simulating a sex act while on stage.
That's bullshit.
Mrs. Maisel!
She's gonna do what with her life? Sit around all day long eating bonbons. Is that what you want for her?
Of course not.
That's what's gonna happen.
Not.
Get
out of here!
This comedy thing. It has to work.
I'm gonna count to 5. 1.
That's the end of my show, folks.
2.
Tune in next week when my grandmother steals my
3.
pearls and fucks my boyfriend.
We charge for pictures now.
There's something here about miming a whore tickling a man's testicles.
Oh, I did do
Yeah,
that.
she did. It was fucking funny.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So, listening to that clip, you get a sense of how active the show is. It's a lot of fun. It's created by Amy Sherman Palladino. She created Gilmore Girls.
You love Gilmore Girls, right? I do not. I mean, I was actually very reticent to even watching this show. I was told by a lot of my friends, oh, you have to watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I was just like, it was not appealing to me at all. And I got a lot of similar vibes from Gilmore Girls. And I really feel like I should give Gilmore Girls more of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for years. I've been a Gilmore Girls fan since they premiered in 2000. I've always loved Gilmore Girls. Yeah, there's something about this fast, stylized dialogue that really speaks to me. I think it's my ADHD. I like a lot of times with TV shows, like I'm just like, keep my attention, bro. Like I need you to stick with me. Like either it has to be so in depth in the character profiles that I'm like really so attached to this character's journey, or there's just like a lot of activity. Like it's really quick dialogue, like kind of like an Aaron Sorkin kind of vibe.
Well, then watch Dawson's Creek. Because that's like Shakespeare.
I mean, it's also, okay, Dawson's Creek is also stylized, but it's in a way that it frustrates me because I'm like, these high school kids are not this sophisticated. Like, they act like they are smoking cigars at the end of the night. Like, they wear button-downs and, like, are working internships, like, in the city. Like, who are these kids? I just don't believe
river
them.
Kids.
River kids.
Sleeping in each other's
The creek
beds.
children. This is the danger of raising your children by the creek. Like,
They have nothing better to do but to educate themselves then. And
by
sleep
having
in each
sex with
other's
their
beds.
teachers. And,
Oh, that's right.
Yo, that was
very scandalous.
That's a discussion for another day. But they allowed these teenagers to do things that were not okay.
But you know what? Yeah, it's the same creator for Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
So I'm surprised. And I'm not going to knock off Gilmore Girls. I just know that I was completely turned off by that theme song. And I was just like, what's going on? But I'm going to give it another chance.
I think you
I
should.
will.
I mean, Gilmore Girls is, from another era as well. So maybe watching it starting from now is different than watching it when it premiered. But I do feel like because there are so many major male character roles in this show, like it does evoke a different tone. When David watches Gilmore Girls, there's just like something that turns him off, like in his DNA. He's like, I can't.
Understandable.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but because Tony Shalhoub is in this show,
Oh.
it's so charming. Like he can't help but enjoy it.
Gosh, he's so great.
Yeah. Like we had watched the pilot, and he's like, this is nice, but it didn't seem like something he wanted to invest time in. But when I had picked this show up later and he saw that I was really enjoying it, then he saw a few choice scenes with Tony Shalhoub, and he's just such a delight. Like, what makes Monk a lovely show to watch is because of Tony Shalhoub. Like, he's just he's so charming.
I've never watched Monk.
Oh,
It's another one I have to watch.
Yeah, it's funny. It's cute. I think if you watch, it's one of those like very, like, it's so formulaic that if you watch like 4, then you can get an idea of what every season feels like. But he's a lovely character actor, and I think his character and Joel's character, I think there's like some connection that men can make to it, because I think when it focuses on just like relationship between two women, there's no entry point for men. Like, I think the fact that we're also like speaking to a father-daughter relationship, we're speaking to a husband-wife relationship, men feel like they can better connect to the story rather than like when they just see a mother and daughter and their antics, and like everyone else is kind of just like ancillary to their connection. Yeah, but I enjoyed both shows, and I really appreciate. I feel like what makes it difficult to keep a show going on for multiple seasons is like so many different hands are able to touch it. Like you're gonna see like there's gonna be like maybe 15 writers in the writing room or whatever, and they're all going to have input, and you kind of lose what the show was intentionally made to be. And I think Amy Sherman Palladino, she seems to keep it very close knit. Just speaking to like her like commentary regarding Gilmore Girls, like people were not able to like strive off script. She was like very much connected to the storyline. Like she wasn't like letting people just like go off onto tangents that she hadn't approved of. She made sure like what her original intention was going to be thought out. And I think that's why like her story ends up being so consistent. Like a lot of times I'm not able to keep up with TV series because it feels like where did we go? How did we get here?
100%.
Like it just feels like they run out of ways to like go off on the same like initial premise, and I'm like I lose what I loved about the show initially, and I think she is so protective about her projects. I can really appreciate that. I really enjoy things that she's made so far.
Did we make it clear that we're talking about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, though?
I mean,
because a lot of people don't know it.
So, guys, this is a Golden Globe winner. Amazon is producing Golden Globe winners, guys. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The season 2 is coming out December 5th.
It stars Rachel Brosnahan, Alex Borstein, Miss Swan, who I was so happy to see, Michael Zegan, and Tony Shalhoub, and Maren Hinkle.
So, Alex Borstein, she also played some characters on Gilmore Girls, and she was supposed she was supposed to be Suki. Like I think she auditioned for Suki, and like she played her in the original pilot. But then like they recreated the pilot when Amy Sherman Palladino wasn't happy with like how.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I think she really respected Borstein as an actress or actor rather. Appreciated what talent she brought to the role, but it just wasn't like the way that she expected it to be portrayed. So she fell in love with
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy's. It just was like a lighter, expression. I think it was just she appreciated what she brought to the role. But Borstein actually ended up like doing some like small bit parts. She played a harpist. She played the stylist for Emily when she was picking out her wedding dress. Like it was really cute.
Different characters.
Yeah, it was it was a very character actress kind of thing. Like there were maybe 3 roles that she did. It was really cute. I appreciated it. So about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, what a fun title that is. It's a lovely little period piece, 1950s New York City. Miriam Midge Maisel, a Jewish housewife that lives in the Upper West Side with husband Joel and 2 children, who in the course of being left by husband for his secretary realizes her dream of being a stand-up comedian. I was already interested in the premise. I find the decision to go out and be a stand-up comedian to be a very interesting one. It's one of the most vulnerable positions you can be in as a creative person. You don't have anyone to lean on. There's no music behind you. There's no second person most of the time. It's just you. So I love that this show gives you an opportunity to really see what it is to start off as a stand-up comedian. I think it definitely quickens the pace and how quickly she's able to tighten up her 10-minute 10-minute set. I think to get a 5-minute set, it might take you 2 years as a comedian. To get 15 100%. Minutes, it could take you 10 years. It's a long strenuous process that I don't think anyone could really like watch digestibly in like a sitcom or in an hour TV show. So they have to kind of, you know, make it easier for people to see that journey. But it does show a lot of what I've heard what being a stand-up comedian is. Like, you're going to have a lot of nights where you're going to be making jokes and no one is going to find it funny and it's going to be an empty room.
Yeah, I think stand-up comedy is the hardest art form there is, or performance art there is. I host an open mic every month, and we have a lot of comedians, and it is so like painful seeing them or like hearing them, and like it's just they make everyone is uncomfortable when a comedian is not reading the room or, you know, bombing. It's so hard, it's so vulnerable, you never know what you're gonna get. As a comedian, I imagine it's so hard to just put yourself out there every night in front of a bunch of people and not be received in the way that you expect to. It's just so excruciatingly painful. Honestly, I feel. I have a lot of respect for comedians.
I do too. I love the line from Lenny Bruce in the first season. And you know I'm a chorus nerd when, like, the first time I hear that name, I'm like, Lenny Bruce, Langston Hughes. Yeah. And for you guys who are not chorus nerds out there, that's a line from Rent. But he says, Mrs. Maisel, her character, she asks Lenny Bruce, like, do you love comedy? Do you love it? And he's like, well, it's the worst thing. If you can do any other profession, then do that because it's terrible, blah, blah. But, you know, like, he just, like, puts up his arms, like, yeah, I mean, I must love it if I'm going to keep doing this to myself. And I think that can work in so many aspects of life. I think if you ask any person who actually practices being a lawyer, I'm like, do you love being a lawyer? A lot of people will tell you, like, this is the worst job. And if you can get any other kind of job, like, do it. And of course, that's not going to be the case for everyone. Like, maybe like your entry point into like working in that field was really easy and you were able to find something that worked for you well. But I think any time where you have to really like carve your own space, where you have to find what is your, you know, special, unique gift that you can bring to an art form that so many other people have decided to be a part of. Like, how are you going to make money in this space? Like, how are you going to make a life out of this? It's really difficult to find that. And it can work in so many different careers or aspirations because, you know, there's too many people in the world who want to do the same thing. And it's not easy to do most things. Like, if I wanted to be a crossing guard, it would be probably not that difficult, but to do anything that requires passion, that requires tenacity, you're constantly battling over yourself.
I'm sure there are crossing guards who are passionate about their career.
I mean, I'm sure that I'm
passionate about saving lives.
I was just like listening. I was just watching Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, so that's why crossing guard came to my mind. So like Kimmy Schmidt, man, she really wants to be a crossing guard, and like they're like, what was it that's in her way? Did she have like a criminal record? I don't remember, but something's in her way, and like, man, like life is hard for everyone. It's hard to follow your dreams, man. So if you're a crossing guard, like, don't be upset with me. Like, I understand. Everybody's trying to do something out there. But yeah, that pilot was great. I really appreciate them showing Midge, like, being that 1950s housewife, measuring her thighs and measuring her waist and, like,
yeah, like,
you can see that she is just, you know, working really consistently to portray this image of this perfect woman. And
she measures her calves. Like, who does that?
Like,
I've never done that.
I have not measured my calves. She did make a point when she found out her husband was, you know, going to be with Penny Pan, that her calf to ankle ratio was not what it should be.
Yeah. So we're introduced to Midge. She's like the epitome of like a perfect Jewish Upper West Side housewife.
Yeah.
She like she goes to bed every night, wakes up in the middle of the night to put all like the night creams, the curlers on while her husband is sleeping, and then wakes up hours before he wakes up again early morning and like puts makeup on and does her hair as if she like woke up like that. And she does that every night. And just, I don't know. And I'm like, imagine if someone took that much energy into something, into their own career, like put that much energy towards their own career, or like something that was their own instead of just pleasing their significant other.
I think there's so many different voices out in the world that are telling us that, like, even in this like 2018 where you should feel like all of the support to go and be that woman that is like killing it in the workplace, there's still something telling you like, man, you gotta make sure that your man is happy or your partner is happy. If you are not like keeping yourself up or showing like not showing the brushstrokes. I think of that quote from Mad Men where Betty's mother told her, you're a masterpiece. Make sure you don't show the brushstrokes. And I think that that's what Midge is doing in those scenes. Yes.
So good.
You're going to hear a lot about Mad Men. It's our mutual favorite show. Yeah, like, don't show what it took to be that masterpiece. Like, nobody wants to know about the effort that it takes. They just want to see that finished work of art. Yeah, I think it doesn't get appreciated, but it's like when it's not being done, then it's noticed.
Yeah, right. I imagine the character Mrs. Maisel being Lucy Ricardo. Like, I imagine like if Lucy Ricardo being a 1950s housewife to Ricky Ricardo like just woke up one day and realized she wanted to be a comedian. I just feel like it's very similar.
That
you know
makes
what
sense,
I mean?
actually. Yeah.
That's where we wanted Lucy to go, actually.
Right. We wish that like there was some moment that made Lucy realize like, okay, I need to stop fucking with Ricky Ricardo and go out and like Ricky. Make myself something at the Tropicana. Like I don't need Ricky.
You know what? Yeah, and he never wanted her to like pursue
like her own thing.
Her own career.
Yeah. Every time she
That's very true. That's very true. She wanted to sing. She's not good. But she had a lot to offer. She was a big personality.
She had a lot of energy. She's very endearing. She's a positive energy that you want, that is attractive, I think, to characters.
Right. At the end of the day, I just feel like I just wanted to see Lucy pursue something of her own. Because she was clearly unhappy as a housewife. But anyways, I'm just thinking of that.
Like in this contemporary, I mean, like being able to look back at this period piece and like with a contemporary writer, looking at the internal motivations of someone, like we're able to see a character like Lucy in that era actually find her own way and discover what her own internal ambitions are. Because before this, external event happened that she had no control over. She had no control over Joel sleeping with Penny Pan for 5 months. She had done everything in her power, she thought, to make sure that her husband was happy. She was, ensuring that the kids were taken care of. She was helping him in what she thought was a hobby. Like, I love these scenes with her going downtown with him, like bringing the brisket, and she's cooking a whole dish. And like, let me tell you, like, cooking a dish is not easy, right? Like, to do that whole thing is not a simple act. She does that, like, make sure like this whole like dish is ready for the person who assigns time slots to the show, and goes and like advocates for her husband. And is like, look, like, make sure you get my husband on the best time slot so he can be like the most likely to be successful. And then still, when he ends up failing, she's the one who takes the brunt of that pain and that trauma. It's like she does all that she can to support him, and it still doesn't get appreciated. Like, what was she expected to do? Like, what else could she have done to, like, make him happier with their situation?
Right. So this is all in the pilot where he bombs one night. We find out that he is taking material that's not his and using it as if he wrote it. And he's just not received well at the Gaslight where he does his bit. And they end up going home, and he tells her, I'm leaving you for my secretary that I've been with for 5 months. And it's just, she's like dumbfounded because she's like, where is this coming from?
Right.
And I mean, that's definitely what got me hooked into watching this show, because I was like, okay, maybe it's not as cookie cutter as I thought it was going to be. Like, there's definitely more substance than what is presented, honestly. When I first saw the trailers, I was like, but there's a lot more substance than what I thought. And, you know, the theme of like competition in relationships, or, you know what, men actually just feeling like, I feel like a lot of times in relationships between a man and woman, a man's failure is often paid for by his significant other. I don't know. I felt like I could relate to that situation, because I've often felt like there was I've had a lot of romantic relationships where if the man wasn't doing well, I was paying for it. I don't know. Do you relate? Who can relate?
Who can relate? I feel like, so I come from a culture where I feel like when women are, you know, when the family is doing well, like, women are the unsung heroes. Like, no one is like letting women know, like, oh, like, thank you for making sure that your son, like, had everything he needed to finish his college degree. Like, thank you for making sure that your family felt supported and, like, you know, did everything. Like there's all these like tasks that like must get done, and then women are picking it up. But it's not until like something goes wrong that like the woman becomes a part of the discussion. Like, this is now the fault of this woman for not, you know, understanding that like he had all these other needs that weren't being attended to. So in this first episode, she is saying like, look, I didn't even realize that this was a something that you really wanted to pursue. I thought it was just a hobby, and I thought it was something fun that we were doing together, but I still supported you in it. And he finds a way to be upset with her, even though he just told her that he had been cheating on her for 5 months. He's like, well, he feels so forlorn realizing that this woman didn't understand exactly what his ambitions were and wasn't 100% in the like on the same boat. And it's like, well, what did you do to make sure that she knew how important this was to you? Like, why aren't you like turning to yourself to seeing like what you could have done to make it clear to both partners what this pursuit is, and like why you're taking so much time to do it? And why are you blaming her for your unhappiness? Like, why aren't you looking internally? Like, what is it? What's going on that makes you so unhappy? It can't just be that you bombed one night. Like, that has to be that's part of this whole thing. Like, there's going to be times where you're going to have bad performances. You can't just like throw up and like blow up your life. That can't be the way that you solve it. I feel like I've been in so many situations where, you know, when things are great, like they're really great, like we're both enjoying all of the success as if it were both of ours. Like, you know, it took a while to get to understanding like what your ideal position was, and then you found it, and great, like it's all great. And then at some point you realize it's not what you thought it was going to be, and then you find a way to blame your partner, and you like it feels like the one thing you can have control over. So you're like, okay, like let me turn to my partner and maybe I can resolve all my dissatisfaction here. But man, like it's not where everything is stemming from. It seems like you're just trying to find a way to, you know, make it easily resolvable, because it's easy to break up, it's easy to end a relationship, but it's not easy to figure out what is making you so unhappy in your life.
Do you feel like men are intimidated by strong women?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think not even just being strong, I think being fully anything, like unabashed emotions are scary to many men. Like, I think of the Kavanaugh hearing and the fact that, like, there was no way that a woman would have been able to say the things that Kavanaugh said to those senators. Like, it was just not going to happen.
Get
like,
out of here. Yeah.
No, like I think about there's one episode of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel where because she performs without a license, like a cabaret license, and shows her tits because she's drunk at a comedy show, she gets ticketed and she has to go to court. And when she's at court, she's being expressive about like why she feels this is an unfair process, and the judge basically puts her in contempt for not, acting like the good little girl that she should be. Like, just admit that you did something wrong, and then we can call this a day, and then we can move on. But whenever you can show your dissatisfaction with a situation, you show your unabashed frustration, then a woman is too much to deal with, and she needs to be put away. I think that scene is such a good metaphor, because I think for everyone, you have to be the good person, the good little girl when you're in front of a judge, because he's the power in the situation. If you don't want to be thrown in jail, you need to appreciate that he has that power. But in the world, I feel like women have to like show that deference all the time. Like, there's so many situations where you're not able to show your frustration, your anger, your sadness, because people will be scared by it. Like, it'll be too much for someone to handle.
100%. I mean, Kavanaugh was very emotional during his testimony. He was just very emotional, very obnoxious, just completely immature about his reaction. And do you black out? Have you ever blacked out? Anyways, I don't even want to get into it, but I know that
it's very triggering for me. I feel like most women have been in situations where they feel like they couldn't have said, like, their experience is not being appreciated. Like, they can't like show their frustration with the moment. They just have to accept that, like, okay, like, I'm in a position where I have to be very composed and explain exactly what happened, and I can't show that I'm frustrated, that no one is understanding where I'm coming from.
Exactly.
But he was able to express that anger. Is like, why aren't you guys understanding that I belong here? And
Hillary wasn't able to without, suffering for it or being judged for it. Anyways, moving back, it reminded me a lot of A Star Is Born. Have you seen it?
I haven't yet. I haven't.
Well, spoiler alert, he dies. Bradley Cooper.
What?
Listen, if you didn't see it yet, that is not my fault, Nicole. I know you might feel a certain way about it right now, but you should have seen it when it came out. There have been like 3 A Star Is Borns already.
That
how
is fair.
Did you not know that?
This is not an original. This is not an original story. I should not be upset. But honestly,
I'm glad that you're affected by it. And I'm sorry I ruined it for you right now. But, like, it's part of my point, okay?
Okay.
You weren't going to see it anytime soon.
No,
okay?
I mean, I honestly wanted to see it. The thing is, I see most movies with David, and he, like, had a visceral reaction about watching that film. So, like, talk about, like, women and men, like, making decisions. Like, he would not have it. Yeah, so like now he's like becoming more open to it because like some more men have been like, oh, actually that's a good film. Like
It's a very
I felt
good
something.
film. Bradley Cooper directed it. It was great.
Yeah,
but basically, he can't. It's like he couldn't. I know it's not as black and white, but what it's like he couldn't exist because his wife was so successful, or she couldn't become a star if he was still alive. Like how I don't even understand why it needs to be that dramatic. Like, it's not like Voldemort and Harry Potter where they can't coexist. Like, they can both live together. I don't know. Basically, it's just like he was like saying that story was like, oh, I can't. My wife is going to be a star and successful, and I can't live with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry I ruined that for you.
No, it's okay. Because I do think that that's an important point. I think in a relationship, there feels like there's only so much space. Like, I think Chris Rock illustrates this point the best in his tambourine special. There's sometimes, like, you both can't be playing the tambourine. Like you know, there's going to be times where, like, one person is, like, the star on stage and they're killing it, and then the other person is like, you know, I'm just cheering on for you over here, like playing I'm just supporting you, like, over here. Because like when you're both like, if you have a family together and you're both like making some risk and like putting yourself out there, it's hard to like support each other in that like very scary space. You feel like there's only, you know, like there's going to be times when one person is supporting the other, or other times where the other person is supporting, you know, whatever, like it's going to be vice versa. I just feel like it's hard for women to advocate for that time when like you're going to be supporting for me. Like
I want a man like that though. You know, don't you? I mean, you already have a man like that.
Yeah,
like,
I think like, you know, I would always say like David is a feminist. Like when I told people that I'd fallen in love with this guy, I was like, you know, he's a feminist. Like he respects my like women's interests. He's pro all the things that I need him to be for me to like, you know, invest all this time for him. But I still think that there are like, I really have to advocate for my space. Like it's not natural because he still like grew up in the society where like his interests matter a little bit more. Like it's still like it feels like if you make more money and I end up being like someone who bears his children and I'm a housewife, like it's just not going to have like the same, like it's not going to have the same power. I'm not going to have like the same decision weight in like our decisions. Like even in this like 2018 world, I still feel like I have to like make sure that I give my own space to do things, and like I allow myself to figure out like what my own interests are. And like I'm not gonna sit here and act like he isn't like trying to make sure I have my like best, like, you know, that I don't fulfill my potential, because he does. Like every time like I'm feeling down on myself and I feel like I'm not adequate or I'm not able to, you know, do something, he really like he's the one to, you know, stubbornly explain, like, no, like, I know that you have a lot to offer, and he, like, tries to build me up. I just feel like there's always a limit. There's always, like, a time where it's, like, okay, like, that's enough of your feeling like you're not enough, and now, like, you know, let's, like, work in my interest and, like, what we're doing together. I don't know. Like, it's such a weird intersection, because I really do feel like his accomplishments, I feel like I'm, like, partially, like, they're still, like, mine. Like, there's something that we own together, because, like, we are able to support each other in whatever efforts that we have together. Like, it's, you know, we can't separate that. We are some institution together, and we are, like, you know, like, whatever he's doing, like, I'm part of, and whatever I'm doing, he's a part of to some extent. I just feel like, man, like, there's just some times where I just feel alone. Like, I'm not getting it. Like, where I'm not getting the same level. And, like, maybe it's just, like, my ego, like, you know, clouding my perception, and I'm not able to see it. But I feel like there's so many times where if I'm really in need of support, if I am like I'm really the one that's struggling, like I feel like there's a limit to it. Like I can't be struggling for very long. Like I need to be pulling myself up, or I'm a drain to it, because like he's the one who's like making more money, and he's the one who's able to like keep the ship going. That if I'm not able to like get in a situation where I'm making equal amounts of money, or you know, I'm not like doing all these domestic duties, like I'm not, you know, fulfilling my end of the deal, and it just like makes me feel inadequate. And you know, if David were here, he would probably like very loudly say all the things like of like why he's like the best partner, and like that's not what he's you know advocating for at all. But I think there's just like so many things in our society that make you feel like if a man is failing or flailing, like you're partially responsible for that.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely feel that way, especially if you're two artists or two people pursuing an artist career. It can be very competitive and very hard, even though I feel like I can't date anyone other than an artist, but I'm sure there's a way to work it out. So in this show, we're also seeing a little bit of what it's like to be a woman in the entertainment industry. And I really enjoyed this scene where Midge is applying for a job at a retail store similar to Macy's. And she's in line or in a waiting room with a lot of older Caucasian men who have beards, and they're all being interviewed to play Santa Claus because it's Christmas time. And I think it's a great metaphor for just being a woman in the entertainment industry, because it is so very much, especially back then, driven by older white men. And yeah.
I think it's so funny that she's applying for a job as an elevator operator, and they're saying like, well, you know, we feel more comfortable with a man in that position. And like now riding the elevator, you know, anyone can push a button, so we don't feel like, I don't know if like the mechanics were so different that really like that elevator operator was saving your life, but I don't really think he was. Like I think he was always just like a person, like a piece of decoration that was pressing a button. So I think it was some sort of security theater to make you feel like, oh, if something happens in this small enclosed space, I have a man to take care of me. But honestly, I don't think he had any other skills but pressing a button. It like speaks to how there's just some roles where people feel like, oh, if there's a man in it, like he's got it, he's gonna be okay.
You need big hands.
Yeah, apparently. Buttons. I mean, I have big hands.
That's very true. You see, it's very true.
Like it doesn't. Not all. You don't have to be a woman to have big hands. Like look at Donald Trump. He has small hands and he's a man. I probably could like have bigger hands.
You would be a great elevator operator then.
I think I would.
Nice big hands.
I mean, if that was a well-paying position now, maybe I would apply.
All right, we are wrapping it up. We got 2 minutes. There's so much to talk about. Just to close out, I really love Midge. I think that she is spontaneous. I think that she fucks the formula. Like, says, fuck it to the formula. There is no right way to be a successful comedian. Or you don't have to suck up to your idols. You don't have to like suck up to people who are already successful in that position or in that career, in that field. I also want to mention that her career or her relationship with Alex Borstein, who is this woman who takes on a role as her agent, is so essential, because I think that having a female support you in any industry it's just so very important.
Yeah, because like no one else is going to understand how it is to be a woman in this industry unless you're a woman in that industry. I think I love that scene where Midge is very unapologetic about how, like, you know, sometimes I'm gonna not feel like I did well, and I'm gonna need you to tell me that I did well. Sometimes I'm gonna need you to, like, advocate for me when, like, I don't deserve to be advocated for. I just fucked up. Like, just be my manager, be that support person. And, like, I feel like you feel that in so many relationships that, like, you know, it's not about being right. It's not about, like, you know, how many points you score in whatever argument. Sometimes I just need you on my side. Like, just be there for me. Like, I feel that so much.
Of course. And performers, like, they're people. Like, you can't expect to have a robot. Like, you know what I mean?
Because, like, so I was, like, complaining to David about, like, receiving some criticism about this show. And he was like, LOL, like, that's part of being an artist. Like, you're going to receive criticism.
Of this podcast.
Yes. Like, you're going to receive criticism. And I'm like, cool, I know that. I didn't come to you to tell me what it is that is part of being an artist. Like, I asked... Like, I told you this because I was looking for support. I don't think, like, when he would complain about, like, a partner at his firm being an asshole to him, I wasn't like, I mean, well, that's part of being in a big law firm. Like, you know, good luck. Like, I was like, that fucking sucks, because it does. And, like, sometimes you just want to vent.
You just want someone to commiserate.
Yeah.
You know?
And just, like, accept that this is part, like, of my reality right now. Like, even if you... it's like part of the deal and other people deal with it fine, like that doesn't make you feel better in that moment when you're dealing with those emotions. Like, sometimes you just want someone to be like giving you a fucking hug and be like, yeah, like, this shit sucks, and, like, you know, but you're gonna, you know, get him another day and it's gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna be able to figure it out. So it's rough out there trying to like put yourself out there and feel like you're floating all along. Like, it's just, I think people try to act as if we're not as sensitive as we are. I think we are all artists in some way, and we all need to play and, like, be out there and making ourselves vulnerable. And if we act as if that isn't a risk and that isn't something that can potentially put you to being in a lot of pain, it makes you feel like this isn't real, or this is something that you're just feeling alone. Yeah, that's rough. But guys, if you really like the show, like, season 2 is coming.
It is, and I saw the episode. I had a sneak peek of season
Lucky
1.
Girl.
Yeah, it was so good. Joel's coming back, and I know it's not all about Joel, but I really love this character, and it's exciting to see where Midge is in her career. She's on top of things. So get excited. I can't wait to see the whole season.
Yes. Thank you all for tuning in to Cinema Therapy.
Cinema Therapy.
Cinema Therapy.
We're going to have a theme song very soon.
Yes. You know, we are a work in progress. We're getting that together. But thank you so much for listening. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you and good night.
Yo, what's going on? Y'all listening to Sky's Crescent Radio, and here's what's coming up. On the first Sunday of the month, we have the Poet Podcast with Dale Novella. On the second Sunday of the month, we have the Soul Tree Spotlight with Earlene Steven. And we also have Keeping It Funky with Troy Weeks. On the third Sunday of the month, we have Boozy News with Supreme Bars. And on the fourth Sunday of the month, we have What's Really Good with Jeanette Berry and Clout Dealers with The Label Noir. And every Sunday at 7, we have Can We Not with Evan Combis. Peace. Yo, what's going on? Y'all listening to Sky's Crescent Radio, and here's what's coming up. On the first Sunday of the month, we have the Poet Podcast with Dale Novella. On the second Sunday of the month, we have the Soul Tree Spotlight with Earlene Steven. And we also have Keeping It Funky with Troy Weeks. On the third Sunday of the month, we have Boozy News with Supreme Bars. And on the fourth Sunday of the month, we have What's Really Good with Jeanette Berry and Clout Dealers with The Label Noir. And every Sunday at 7, we have Can We Not with Evan Combis. Peace. Yo, what's going on? Y'all listening to Sky's Crescent Radio, and here's what's coming up.